So today I'm going to talk about 5 things under $50 that you should have in your camera bag if you're into filmmaking or videography. So the first thing on the list is something that almost every videographer would recommend you to get is an ND filter. And in easy words, an ND filter is like sunglasses for your camera, which means it will cut off the light that comes in. And you'll be asking, why would you want to cut off light? The more light there is, the better, right? Well, that is true, but not for all scenarios. In photography, you can compensate the exposure by changing up your shutter speed and your ISO, and it will not make a whole lot difference. But in videography, there's a rule that you should keep your shutter speed twice your frame rate, which means if you're shooting at 25 frames per second, then your shutter speed should be 1/50th of a second, because that will give you the most realistic motion blur. And if your shutter speed is too low, it will give you a dreamy kind of look with a lot of motion blur, and if it's too high, it'll give you an intense look with no motion blur at all. So keeping at twice your frame rate will give you the best and most realistic looking motion blur in your videos. And keeping a shutter speed twice your frame rate can get a bit difficult. For example, if you're shooting outside in daylight, you set your shutter speed twice your frame rate, your ISO as low as possible, like 100, and you want to set your aperture at f1.4 or 1.8 to get that nice blurry background, but it's already too bright, what can you do? So in those scenarios, an ND filter comes really handy. You just have to screw in the front of your lens and it will cut off the excessive light that is coming in. And that can save you a lot of times. Well, it actually did for me. So ND filter comes in different stops like ND6, ND8, ND10, which means by how much stops the light will be cut off by the filter. So you can get different stops of ND filter for you need, or you can get something which is called variable ND filter. So in a variable ND filter, if it was the front of the ring, you can change the amount of ND as per you need. Well, variable ND filters tends to have pretty bad quality and color shifts, so I would recommend you to get a single stop ND filter with cleaner looking image and less color shifts. So number 1, ND filter, a must-have thing if you're shooting videos outside. So number 2 is step-up rings. So these are just metal rings that expands up your filter thread of your lenses, which allows you to use bigger filters on small lenses, and that way you can just buy a single big size filter and then just swap it around on all of your lenses using these step-up rings. And these can save you a whole lot of money, which you can use on other gear. And I actually use this thing a lot. So my ND filter has a filter size of 82mm, and I just use these step-up rings to swap them around on all of my lenses. Since they're made of metal, they're pretty durable and they're pretty inexpensive as well. The ones that I have costed me about $8, and you can get them even cheaper. So number 2, step-up rings, really handy and can help you save a lot of money. Number 3 is gaff tape. And gaff tape is one of my favorite things. You can do anything with gaff tape. You can use it to tape it around anything you want. It doesn't leave any residue, so you don't have to worry about the nasty stuff after you rip it off. And it's actually pretty strong as well. So some examples of how you can use gaff tape: so that you can tape around the wires of the lights on the set so that no one trips over them. You can tape around gels on lights. So you can tape around small lights on walls themselves. And actually use gaff tape once to tape around my microphone on a light stand because I didn't have any boom pole or mount for it. And gaff tape also comes in various shapes and colors. So this one here is a 2-inch 50-meter roll, and it costed me about $8 as well, so pretty inexpensive. So number 3, gaff tape, a must-have thing if you're shooting on a set or production team. So number 4 is friction arms, and friction arms are just great. These are actually just metal arms that have a single joint which when loose will unlock the whole arm, and you can move it around in any way. These tend to have clamps on one of their ends, so you can mount it around on anything, and it also tends to have a 1/4-inch thread on the other side which you can use to mount stuff on it as well. You can mount anything on these, for example lights, microphone, cameras, anything at all. These also comes in various shapes and sizes, and the one that I have isn't that much strong, so it can only hold up lighter things like lights and microphones, but they're also made in bigger ones. They're really tough and really strong, and I've seen on a production team using them to mount a cinema camera on it, and it held it with no problem. So number 4, friction arms, very useful thing. So number 5 are clamps, and these can come in so handy. You can clamp these around anywhere you want. You can clamp it on a light stand, on a desk, or use it as a holder to clamp around reflectors, bounce boards, backdrops, or anything that you want. Clamps tend to have 1/4-inch or 3/8-inch threads in them, so you can mount around stuff to it as well, like cameras, lights, or anything like that. And these can hold up a lot of weight actually. So the small ones are not that strong, but the big ones can hold up quite a lot of weight. And on a production set, these come in really handy. People use it all around on a set to mount different things like backdrops, reflector, diffusion materials, and all that stuff. And the small ones are also pretty light and compact, so you can throw them around in your backpack and it will not take a whole lot of space and can come really useful when you're thinking like, what can I do? I have to mount something, but you'll be like, oh, I can use the clamps that I have. And that time these comes in really handy and useful. Just buy one or two and you will not regret it. So those were the 5 things under $50 that I think you should have in your camera bag if you're into filmmaking or videography. And give the video a thumbs up if it helped you in any way, and follow me on Instagram for behind the scenes and stuff, and subscribe for more videos like these, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.